Welcome to Da Headlines. I'm Li Wei Tai. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in today's show, from Brisbane, Australia, we have an update on Tzu Chi's aid distributions in flood-hit Rockley and Goodna. Is river dredging the only way to protect Indonesia's Jakarta from more floods and pollution? Our report from the Southeast Asian country shows that environmental consciousness is key. And a special exhibition of traditional handcrafts is taking place in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, for a nostalgic glimpse into the early agricultural life of the island nation. Last weekend, Tzu Chi volunteers continued their relief efforts for Australian flood victims. On Sunday, volunteers held a distribution at their Brisbane office for 60 families from hard-hit Rockley. The day before, on Saturday, January 29th, volunteers went to one of the worst affected suburbs of Goodna for an aid distribution and handed out relief packages and cash cards to 107 households.
Frank sorts relief items effortlessly. Not a victim of the flood, the 75-year-old decided to join volunteers to clean up the disaster area, though he did not know what kind of organization Tzu Chi was.
It's totally immaterial to me who is doing this sort of work. I'm just happy to join in.
For Chong Ma, who came to Australia 13 years ago as a refugee from Vietnam, the flood took away the home he worked so hard to build.
It's feel, like we lost everything, right? We start again. Okay. Thank you for people. So a lot of people help. I just say thank you very much.
The heartwarming care and support gives the flood victims the strength to rebuild their homes. Among the recipients, Sharon holds on tightly to her aid package.
It's so touching. You make me cry. And I know I'm hugging everything, but when you've lost everything, having someone actually give you things, practical things, important things, and knowing that people care about you makes all the difference in the world. That's why I'm hugging it. I can't let go of it.
In a relay of love, participants donate their spare coins to help those in the same situation. Come the following day, volunteers gather at Brisbane's Tzu Chi office to clear out some space for the day's distribution. Young and old all get to work. 65-year-old volunteer Wen Kun Tang says he's full of energy.
It's not difficult, no, it's okay. Coming here, I feel more energetic. Maybe it's because of the wisdom from the Buddha.
Tzu Chi volunteers mindfully create a family-like atmosphere with songs and sign language, moving many flood victims to tears.
It's hard, yeah, because you don't know who to talk to and trust. Can't trust anyone. Maybe not be around this before. Maybe too rough in Brisbane,
Deeply moved and inspired, these Queenslanders all know they are not alone on the path to recovery because Tzu Chi's love and care will always be around.
Flooding is also a problem in Indonesia's Jakarta. Squatter settlements can be found all along the banks of the capital city's rivers. Inhabitants typically throw their waste into the water, which over the years has elevated the riverbeds, clogged up the channels, and caused flooding, sometimes even when it wasn't raining. After teaming up with Tzu Chi in 2002 to clean up Jakarta's Angke River, the city government decided to expand its river dredging program to include 12 other waterways in the city. The cleanup began last year with funding from the World Bank. However, as reported yesterday, if local residents do not become more environmentally conscious and learn not to litter, then the city's efforts will be in vain.
In these aerial photographs taken in 2003, Angke River in Indonesia's Jakarta seems to be sparkling and unpolluted after a thorough clean. Thus, the local government decided to purify the other 12 main rivers that flow through its capital. However, travelling upstream of Angke River, which was left untouched during the dredging of 2002, the river remains cluttered with trash till this day.
Ada yang buang sampah dari atas.
Ada tiap hari ada yang angkat.
Iya, tiap hari ada yang kerja.
We have a public office established especially to maintain our rivers and keep areas near the rivers clean. Take Angke River for example. Every day we have 5 to 6 trucks alone just for discarding garbage.
The problem ultimately lies in the inhabitants' living habits. Even though the government has laws against littering, they are not strictly enforced because the government wishes its people can realize the errors in their ways.
Although we have set up measures where people will be fined if they discard trash freely, in reality, we do not actually enforce such penalty. Instead, we continue to coach and guide them and issue warnings.
Along Angke River, the government has begun a series of construction projects to install automated trash collection and disposal facilities. And Tzu Chi has teamed up with the government once again to begin a new wave of environmental mission.
Our current plan is to team up with the government and residents, and together we will dredge Angke River and remove sediments and filth that have accumulated at the bottom of the river after so many years.
Along the rivers of Jakarta, squatter settlements can be found, and with them piles of trash. During high tides, the rivers rise and overflows, which then carries away these waste. At another river flowing through Jakarta, even though there is not a drop of rain, we can see the river has already inundated nearby roads, causing a traffic jam. Vehicles and people are all trying to tread through the water. Amidst the mayhem, local people, young and old, take on the role of traffic guards. The same scene can be seen at another surging river. Piles of trash follow along cars and motorcycles. It still hasn't rained, but this road has already been flooded. The culprit is a nearby overflowing river. The city of Jakarta may have plans to carry out its river dredging project, but unless the city's citizens adapt a cleaner way of life, pristine rivers might never be realized in the city.
On this day, the 1st of February, the first English dictionary to be published by Oxford University had only a fraction of the 600,000 words you find in it today. Dragged into the information age, the modern version will soon be available in e-book format. Express diesel trains started running between Taiwan's capital of Taipei and the southern city of Kaohsiung on this day in 1956. The engines first went online in 1954, taking shorter journeys. Now they're part of everyday life in Taiwan. It took 6 years to build and cost 7.3 billion NT dollars. The Northern Cross Island Railway track was completed on this day in 1980, connecting the east and west of Taiwan by train. The service led to a tourism boom on the scenic east coast. The first completed documentary film about the Tzu Chi Foundation was released on this day in 1997. With over 800 photographs and historical clips of film, the documentary plotted the charity's progress over the last 30 years, from its humble origins to becoming a global phenomenon. Columbia was the first space-worthy space shuttle and was on its 28th mission since 1981 when it broke up on re-entry to the Earth's atmosphere on this day in 2003. The 7 astronauts on board were killed. The accident sparked an investigation into safety at NASA.
After North Taiwan's Cross Island Railway opened up, for the first time, trains connected the east and west coast of Taiwan. Around about the same time, Tzu Chi started building its hospital in Hualien. Members of the organization took advantage of the new connection to visit the building site and find out how their donated dollars were being spent. Due to popular demand, Tzu Chi commissioned a train, which became known as the Tzu Chi Express, to carry visitors. Although the service was halted by the SARS crisis, a steady stream of volunteers still take the journey to Hualien on a pilgrimage to Tzu Chi's heartland.
In 1980, the North Cross Island Railway connected West and East Taiwan and brought passengers to the Tzu Chi Hospital and abode in Hualien. 1983, for the first groundbreaking at Tzu Hospital, 500 passengers took the train. After that, Taipei volunteers started booking tickets for visitors.
They wanted to go to Hualien because they were inspired, but they didn't know how. You couldn't let them down the first time, so if one person wanted to go, we wouldn't let them go without a ticket.
Wei Manzi was one of the original Express team members. A volunteer since 1979, she soon became an expert ticket trader.
I would buy 1 or 2 tickets at a time. I would line up for them. If people couldn't get a seat, they would come to us and I would say, "Okay, if you can wait, I'll find a way for you." If I needed 10 tickets, I would get 5 here and another 5 there. I even got to know some station masters in central Taiwan and asked them to get me seats.
As Hualien Tzu Hospital got up and running, demand for tickets went through the roof, creating a headache for Taipei station master Chen Qingbiao.
I asked them why they were always buying tickets. I wonder if they were running a travel agency. That's when those women took the opportunity to introduce me to Tzu.
After finding out about the organization, in 1982, Chen Qingbiao became a volunteer. Now in retirement, he works full-time for Tzu. As well as spreading the word when buying tickets, the volunteers used the 3-hour journey to Hualien to talk about Tzu.
If you're narrow-minded, you'll compare yourself to others. But if you open your heart, you'll be happy to see anyone. I used to have a bad temper before going to Hualien.
On September 17, 1989, to celebrate Tzu Nursing College's 3rd anniversary, Tzu commissioned trains to help take nearly 20,000 people to Hualien. Since everyone on board was in Tzu, the train became known as the Tzu Express. After the 2003 SARS crisis, Tzu temporarily halted all large meetings, and the Tzu Express made its last journey. But after Typhoon Morakot in 2008, Taiwan High-Speed Rail took northern Taiwanese volunteers to the south of the country. And in 2010, when Typhoon Meiji swamped Yilan, Tzu volunteers again filled up the trains to flooded areas. Although no longer called the Tzu Express, the train is a vital link in the charity network.
In the 2.5 years since Cyclone August wreaked havoc upon Myanmar, Tzu has been working in many areas to help its people recover, along with aid distributions, free clinics, and the building of schools, but most notably in giving quality rice seeds and training for the farmers. Since Tzu's large rice seedling distribution in the Tenling area of Yangon province last May, many farmers are now seeing a full harvest. In a cycle of love, they donated the quality rice seeds to others that have a shortage.
It's a good harvest this year in Myanmar. The rice yield has seen a big improvement on previous years, and farmers living in the Tanlin area of Yangon province are delighted to share the news with Tzu, who donated the seeds.
At the time of the cyclone, we were really moved to receive Tzu's help. At a low point in our life, someone pulled us out of it. And so I will do the same for others in the future.
Despite still being in debt, Sui Helang is fulfilling his promise to help others, starting with a donation of 3 bags of quality rice seeds.
When I took the Tzu seeds, I made a vow. Therefore, I kept the Tzu bag, and now I'm using them to store the harvested rice seeds.
106 farming households from the Tanlin area alone have donated nearly 500 bags of rice seeds.
I'm very happy that City came to help us when we had nothing. So now we must donate all that we can, and hopefully next year as well.
Volunteers also prepare a present for these kind-hearted farmers. This canvas can be used to dry rice grains, and in the monsoon season it can provide shelter. In a ceaseless cycle of charity, hopefully the Burmese people will continue to see bumper harvests and an even kinder future.
Staying in Asia but moving to Malaysia, we meet 61-year-old Zhou Yulan from Kota Kinabalu, who had a 20-year habit of gambling. She says she lost an accumulated total of $15,000 because of her obsession. On top of that, she needed to single-handedly raise 3 children. However, all that changed after she stumbled across Dai TV, which prompted her to become a devoted recycling volunteer.
When Siji volunteer Zhou Yulan goes for a walk every morning, she always stops at every trash can for a special reason.
People thought she was an old scavenger, she said. I'm not a bigger. I'm doing recycling work.
You do that out of kindness. People think you're stupid, but it's actually because you have a kind heart and that you're a neat person.
At the market, Zhou Yulan also helps pick up the newspaper, despite it being wet and dirty. The diligent woman takes them home, then dries and gathers them into a bundle. Dirty PET bottles and plastic bags are also rinsed one by one.
I watch Dai TV, and when I see something good, I learn it. If you don't wash it, it will become stinky.
From a Dai viewer to a Tsuji volunteer and now on to recycling work, smiling Zhou Yulan has replaced the permanent frown she used to wear from tending a market stall while single-handedly raising 3 children after her husband's death.
She's changed a lot. Now she is starting to smile. She used to put on an angry face and didn't like to talk.
Sometimes I see other people who are worse off but are still happy. We have good arms and legs. We should be content.
Recycling work has kept the old lady busy and even helped her quit her gambling habits of 20 years. Now she puts all her pocket money into her bamboo coin bank.
I used to love gambling, and I lost about 200 ringgits a month. The other day I counted how much I had lost over 20 years. It's about 40,000 ringgits. If I had donated that money to help the poor, it would have been so nice.
It's never too late to live a meaningful life, and this 61-year-old woman has at last found spiritual wealth in recycling work.
In the past 2 to 3 weeks, Taiwan has been gripped in a series of cold fronts. But despite the freezing temperatures, Tzu Chi volunteers are continuing their work all the way into the Lunar New Year holiday. Recently, caregivers in Taichung helped one solitary senior clean up his home just in time for the festivities. With his deformed feet, 73-year-old Mr. Chen struggled to take care of himself, never mind looking after his house, which had a hole in the roof and was infested with bugs. The old man was only too happy that volunteers came to help restore his rundown property for a warmer winter. This is 73-year-old Mr. Chen's home. Clammy bed, messy bedroom and a broken-down toilet, a situation exacerbated by a hole in the roof and the constant leakage from above. Mold and grime dotted the interior of the house, all because the homeowner is already struggling to take care of himself with a pair of deformed feet.
He's been living on his own for more than a dozen years. And all this time, he has been reclusive and alone.
It took Tzu Chi volunteers several visits before they were able to persuade the socially withdrawn senior to accept their assistance.
His duvets and living environment, there are rats and cockroaches in his bed. He sleeps with pests.
Volunteers do not give in to the cold front as they pick up on the housework that is long overdue. Sloshing through icy water, the cleaning up crew works for 3 hours straight and finally strip the house of its age-old dirt.
After cleaning up his place, we will continue to visit him every month and help him lead a more normal life.
The cleanup is just the beginning. Volunteers will carry on providing companionship to old Mr. Chen and giving him the love and support he needs. At the Kaohsiung Museum of Labor in southern Taiwan, an exhibition called The 100 Lost Handcrafts is currently on display. In the show, which runs until April 10th, people can learn about the many household items that were made by hand before modernization and advancement of technology, such as hand-painted movie advertisements, hand-sewn shoes, or even handmade cotton comforters. Let's start by learning about handmade bamboo steam baskets.
To turn a bamboo into a Chinese steaming basket, one must first learn how to slice the grass down. Then, after meticulous cutting and sanding, through the hands of an old master, comes a Chinese steaming basket. Next is something seldom seen anymore, a handmade cotton comforter.
People used to beat on the cotton with a stick, then flatten it with a press. Seeing this sure brings back memories. You certainly don't see people doing this anymore.
When we were small, craftsmen would sit us on the round press, which would help make the cotton flat. This is really a tough job. It takes a lot of work. To become a master takes at least 3 years and 4 months.
Sadly, with old masters passing on or retiring, the skill is being lost, and soon handmade comforters will be but a part of history. However, at Kaohsiung Museum of Labor in southern Taiwan, one can witness such skill and many other lost arts, like hand-sewn shoes and hand-painted movie billboard.
I'm so touched to see this. It's like from my mom's era.
I like old school items such as these. I cherish exhibitions such as this one.
Although with modernization and technological advancement, many handcrafts are becoming a thing of the past. Through learning and understanding such arts, we learn about our ancestors' wisdom and finesse, and most importantly, their iron wills.
City volunteers in Brazil recently held a prayer ceremony to canvass support for those in Rio de Janeiro who were injured or killed by the mudslides caused by days of heavy rain that pounded the southeastern state. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching Dai Headlines. Goodbye.